What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Nerdy Dating. I'm your host, Zakka, and on this episode we talk about TikToks and YouTube video reactions about the dating world, modern dating, and just what's going on. We react to some videos. Well, this first video is from Tom Bilyeu, who has Impact Theory. He made Quest Bars, and Impact Theory is a channel about just things as far as like achieving your goals and dreams, tips on how to live a better life, better health. He brings on different people on his show to interview. Kind of like Lewis Howes' School of Greatness, Tom Bilyeu does the same thing with Impact Theory. Well, on this episode, he brings on Chris Williamson. Now, I like listening to podcasts, and the first thing popped in this episode was 50% of men are sexless. And it says the number one reason the rate of single men in the US looking for dates has declined. Now, Chris Williamson has been on this channel before. He was on with Logan Ury when Logan Ury was talking about her book, How to Not Die Alone, which is a book that I love and adore. And also, I feel like I said the name wrong every single time. I think it's How to Not Die Alone, but anyway, her book, I rave about it. Just did a whole episode on it, which I also said the name wrong on that episode as well. But put the information in the comment section so you guys can go look at the book. But anyway, Logan Ury is on his channel, and Chris Williamson brought her on, and she talked about her book. Well, Chris Williamson is now on Tom Bilyeu's channel on his episode Impact Theories. Funny how people in the same circle flock together. And Chris Williamson is a dating coach as well, and he wanted to come on this episode and talk about dating advice. And some of the stuff he said on this hour and 53-minute long episode is a little backwards. And I just want to talk about it in this episode, but I'm going to play it so you guys can hear what he talks about. So we're going to go ahead and pop this in here and get this bad boy started.
Builders that could transform him.
It's not super bad, their boss isn't that much of a dick, but they're not really fulfilled and they're not paid very well, but it'll just take over. Or someone's in a relationship and they're not abusive, but it doesn't exactly light their fire and they've sort of settled. Or someone lives in an apartment and it's in an alright piece of town, but there's mold in the ceiling and the landlord's a bit of a dick or whatever. All of these people would be in better situations if their situations were worse, because it would actually give them the activation energy to kick themselves out the other side.
So we're living in a time right now, I think it's roughly 1 in 3 young men, adult young men, are not having sex, haven't had sex in the last year. That number has skyrocketed in the last 10 years. So yeah. Something is breaking. Now, from the outside, as a guy in my late 40s who's been successful, I look back at that and I'm like, what are you doing? So they have access to so much information. They have access to you talking about this. They have access to just an ungodly amount of information. What is going wrong, first of all, and then why isn't it so bad that they change? Because from the outside, it looks crazy that they're not making radical changes.
So the mating crisis that we're facing at the moment, which is what you're touching on, is, as far as I'm concerned, the biggest problem facing young people at the moment. It is. The culture wars are going to start to dwindle, and this is going to be the next big thing if I was to bet some money on what's going to go on. So you're right. From 2008 to 2018, the number of men between 18 and 30 reporting sex in the last year tripled from 8 to 28%.
Jeez,
that finishes in 2018. Roll that forward into the pandemic. I honestly think that you could look at a man on the street now between the ages of 18 and 30, point at him and have a 50% chance that he hasn't had sex in the last year.
That's insane.
This number went up for women as well, not as starkly as it did for men, but it did go up for women too. So short-term mating is damaged. Now, when you're talking about the region beta paradox and how this relates, being comfortably numb or sedated out of effectiveness is something that I'm quite concerned about. So I think that a number of men, and we can get into this, are struggling to find a partner who is attracted to them. That causes them to retreat into porn and video games. And what they get is a very, very, very slight titrated dose of reproductive fitness cues from the porn and status and community cues from the video games. So there's a concept called young male syndrome, right? If you have a proliferation of single childless men, you have a lot of risk-taking behavior. You get into a relationship, your testosterone drops as a man, you have children, your testosterone drops. Again, that's adaptive because you don't want to be out doing risky stuff, jumping off cliffs if you've got a wife and a child at home. So evolution tells you to calm it down a little bit. So you would say, well, if we have higher levels of sexlessness and singleness amongst men than ever before, you should see an associated increase in incel violence, in antisocial behavior, so on and so forth, and we haven't seen it. Young male syndrome has happened throughout tons and tons and tons of previous civilizations. Portugal in the 1700s, actually the first son was the only one that could get married because of an imbalance in the sex ratio. So they sent off sons 2, 3, 4, and 5 on these galleon ships, and they said, go and explore the new world. What they were really doing was exporting the men that were potentially going to be disruptive to civilization. So if we have all of these men that aren't having sex, where's all of the disruption? And it's my belief, the male sedation hypothesis is that men are being sedated out of their status seeking and their reproductive desires through porn and video games. Diana Fleischman has a paper called Uncanny Vulvas, where she talks about, from Uncanny Valley, she talks about how these fake cues of reproductive fitness can be delivered through screens. And would it be better to have a huge swath of high testosterone young men running around spray painting shit and pushing over granny? Probably not. But it's only a margin better for them to be so useless that they don't do it. Because if something is needed of them at some point, they're not going to have the capacity to do it. And for every step that they take further and further into uselessness, they become less and less attractive to the women that they're already struggling to get into a relationship with.
Thing of the idea that men are the experiment run by women.
Correct.
And so if women are the gatekeepers of sexual reproduction, then you're going to get what they have selected over, extraordinarily long periods of time. But you're getting what they select. But we're now entering an era where virtual, uncanny vulvas, I love that, where virtual lives now are beginning to give you something that would have otherwise been so absent, it would have pushed you into so much discomfort that you would have taken action.
Correct.
But now you're getting just enough of it that you're...
Sedated.
Yeah, I don't know that I would say sedated. That's why I hesitated with that. There is, I think, there's an undercurrent. They know something is wrong, and when people pop their head up in a sexy enough way, they respond. So take Andrew Tate. So when he first kicked off, I completely ignored it. And I was just like, I did not find anything about it interesting. And then it was like, this is getting so big that the phenomenon of it has to be looked at. And so...
Entry is a bad example, though.
To the sedation hypothesis, they're aware that something is going wrong, and they know it when they see it. So they got what let me put it into, thank you for letting me think out loud. Here's what I think is going on. We as a species model. We need somebody to look at and go, that's dope. So I had Schwarzenegger, right? And people like him. Grew up in the 80s, big muscly dudes everywhere. And for anybody that is an anime fan, Fist of the North Star, that whole story about, it was like counter programming against sort of a more effeminate vibe that was going on in manga at the time. This like hyper Western style masculine 80s jacked guy.
Is it like
that can just
Dragon Ball Z kind of, like that kind of build?
No, because that's all like, well, in Super Saiyan mode, yes. But this was a little bit earlier than that. So it literally looks like a Schwarzenegger kind of character, just fucking yoked. Because we are biological creatures, they have that impulse. They're looking for something to model after that. And when they don't get it, there's a sense of dis-ease. So societally, we have this dis-ease. I don't think it's necessarily, there's something obviously to the sedation because they're not breaking out into the young men. I get that. But there's an awareness of the problem from I don't feel right, I don't feel good. And when I see it, boom, it's explosive latching onto that. So now bringing it back to, if men are the result of what women are breeding us to be over a very long period of time, there's also tied into that the idea of what do I have to do to get laid? I actually debated whether my opening question to you, because a very long time ago, I was terrible with women. And I knew this guy, and he was very good with women. He was very attractive. And I said to him, dude, how do I get laid? Like, what's the secret?
Was your opening question going to be, how do I get laid?
Yeah. Like, what's the secret to getting laid?
Lisa must be upstairs. Can I just call her?
Lisa, his wife.
Someone call Lisa.
I've learned my lesson.
Someone ring Lisa. Yeah, so I mean, this is very, very interesting, and this is a little bit unpopular to talk about.
What is unpopular exactly, and why?
The reason it's unpopular is because the sexual revolution was seen as a universal good for women and for society at large. And I'm not convinced that the evidence bears that out for either men or women, right? So, as you said, women are the gatekeepers to sex. Men, on average, for the most part, are the sexual protagonists. I'm sure that before you even met Lisa, you could probably count on one hand the number of times that a girl comes up to you and chats you up. It basically never happens, right? It's men are the sexual protagonists. And one of the problems that you have in a world where sexual norms have been dissolved, we've decoupled sex from having babies, right, with hormonal birth control, and we've decoupled sex from having feelings now as well, through the dissolving of any kind of sexual norms. And sure enough, there was probably some work that needed to be done, but there is definitely something such as overshooting. So, as you say, women are the sexual gatekeepers, and men will meet the standard that they set for sex. So, if you need to become an upstanding member of the community, you need to have a reliable job, you need to ask for the daughter's father's hand in marriage, like the most difficult, most disagreeable, highest criteria person that should be in her life, that's what you have to get past. In order to be able to get married, in order to be able to get laid. Like, that's a lot of things that you have to do. And if that's what men have to do, sure enough, they'll do it. However, if men have to be in a nightclub at 2 o'clock in the morning, in the right place at the right time, and that's all they need to do to get sex, they will meet that criteria appropriately. So this isn't me saying women are at fault for the listlessness amongst young men, but they're not completely devoid from it either. Men will meet the criteria that women set for sex. Women are the demand, and men are the supply. The demand is what sets the price. And if you drop this price down too much, where is the incentive for men to be better men? Now, there is an incentive for men to be better men because they want to conquer themselves and they want to become better in the world. That only goes so far. Like, men have done an awful lot of things just to get sex. I learned salsa once. I learned to salsa dance.
Doesn't wrong with salsa dancing.
Men will do an awful lot in order
dance
to be able to get
pretty
laid. And if the criteria that men have to meet gets dropped down and gets dropped down and gets dropped down, why would they work any harder? Why should they become an upstanding member of society? On average, men under the age of 30 in the USA are spending 2,000 hours a year playing video games, and 50% of them are either on prescription drugs or smoking weed.
Jesus. Okay, so I'm going to add a layer of complication. So I think all of that makes all the sense in the world to me. I think, though, that there is maybe there's two potential bigger problems. So you have lack of brotherhood, which may also be they're getting it through video games. And then there is it has become societally unacceptable to be hard as hell and to just be tough and to have that held up as a standard. So again, just going back to the 80s, you look at media, what does media celebrate? You're gonna have kids that wanna be that. My generation, media celebrated hard-nosed fighters, big muscles, get through anything to save the damsel in distress. Once you say, can't have a damsel in distress, like I think, because I don't know how much you know about what we do, but so all of this, everything that you've ever seen me do, everything that you know about me is just so that I can tell stories. Because that is like my key motivator in life. It's the thing I love the most. Certainly I've been wildly impacted by. Impact theory is, my theory on how to impact people at scale is through story. So you give people this thing, this ideal to look up to, and we've removed the damsel in distress and said you can't have that. Guys that are tough ass, hard-nosed fighters, that's all toxic masculinity, so that's all pulled away. Parents are coddling the life out of their kids. Like my mom, who was very protective by those standards, would just let me ride my bike miles away from the house. And we would go to like a bike track and do jumps, no parents, nobody watching, older kids beat up younger kids, it just is what it is. And like that was the thing. So you've got all of that stuff, and now you have, and there's no coming of age ritual, nothing like that. And so kids don't have role models to look up to. They're told that all their impulses to be aggressive, to be tough, to play rough, all of that is bad and negative and it should be wiped away. And all of the media is like, now we're really gonna open a can of worms. So there's a reason that there is one anime called Demon Slayer. Sorry, there's one manga called Demon Slayer. It also happens to also be an anime that outsells the entire Western comic book market. So Batman, Spider-Man, Superman, Wonder Woman, X-Men, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, all of it together is outsold by Demon Slayer. And the reason is they did not get the culturally appropriate memo. And so they make content for 12-year-old boys and they make content for 12-year-old girls, and they do not try to blend them. And by trying to blend our entertainment and not giving guys basically rock'em sock'em robots fighting, blood, girls scantily clad, all of that, you just sort of get this like milquetoasty thing. Yeah, like what exactly am I aspiring to? So women aren't holding us. It is not women's fault. I want to be hyper clear. This is a societal problem that is everybody's in the mix. So all I'm saying is everybody's going to have to contribute. So I'm, by the way, a personal responsibility guy. I'm only interested, hey, if you have a problem, you need to do something about it. Just to be very clear, because I can hear the comment section going crazy already. There's a low bar for sex.
Correct.
There are no manly men to look up to. There are no coming of age rituals anymore. And we have the new opioid for the masses. If it used to be religion, now it is video games, weed, whatever. And that combination is terrifyingly lethal.
Let's talk about the potential pushback that you might get from girls here. And quite rightly, like, girls needed equal access to education and employment. There were restrictive sexual norms that stopped them from doing whatever it was that they wanted to do. There are articles that you can see in magazines like Cosmopolitan and Elle that say things like how to sleep with him and not catch feels. How to sleep with him and not catch feels. Okay, so what you're teaching young girls to do is disembody themselves from the most sacred act that they can do, which is allowing another person inside of them, to the point where they negate any sense of connection emotionally, and you want to call that freedom. I'm not convinced that that makes girls particularly free. If I was a mother and I had a daughter, I would not want her to lean into that kind of a lifestyle. I think that I would want her to treat it as something that was sacred. And I think that that sounds a lot like freedom. But that's not for me to say that you shouldn't do it. Okay, so the manly men thing. Where are the manly men at? Well, they tried to push a more feminine view of men in romance novels, in dark romance novels, especially in the mid-2010s. And they didn't sell well. It didn't sell well because, on average, not that many women are fantasizing about a very agreeable, sort of soft, effeminate man. They wanted a man that was going to be useful in a war and useful at parenting children. Like, those are the two things, right? So,
okay, I'm going to stop it right there for a moment and just dive into what they said in this first part. Because there's a lot. The 1 in 3 thing about 1 in 3 men under the age of 30 are sexless. There's an article out there that says this, and then the pandemic, this is before 2018, it's a New York Times article or a Washington Post article. I actually pulled up the article to see what it was about, and it does have based off the general social survey that like the number % of men under the age of 30 having sex has increased. Okay, cool. And this is before 2018, so before the pandemic. And then the pandemic, you'll say it got higher. And there's another article from the New York Post, Psychology Today, and it referenced a Pew Research.org's post about facts about how many men are single by Valentine's Day and how many women are not single, younger women are not as single as men. And they're saying like it's because of video games and because of porn is the reason why men are not as being as aggressive enough to go out and find a girl to, go find women. Well, one, men don't only watch porn, women watch porn too. We already heard about a whole episode about sexual discipline and whatnot about that. I'm not gonna dive into it. You can go watch the episode or go listen to that episode and come back and listen to this. But if there's addiction with porn, that needs to be taken care of. It needs to go talk to a therapist, have that, work that out. But not men underneath 30 is not the only ones who are watching adult content. Men above 30 are doing the same thing, and women above 30 are doing the same thing. So, but how come men over 30 are not in this sexless range? Then they talk about video games. Video games has grown a lot bigger since, the early 2000s, and you can look the statistic up during the pandemic time too. People are playing more video games, not just men, but also women. Your athletes are playing video games. Your regular teachers, people who are just normal day people are playing video games who also probably have a really good sex life. So it doesn't really matter that you're somebody playing video games. You can still have sex. Also, the title of this video says the number one reason the rate of single men in the U.S. looking for dates has declined. Now, they're saying video games, porn, and then the fact that the women revolution, women are more, getting better jobs, women are doing better things, women are well paid, more of this. So therefore, they're valuing men, they're looking for men to reach that state who are also higher than hypergamy, which is a thing which I'm going to play more of the video. Can I believe I'm hitting some stuff that actually gets said later on, because I listened to this earlier. So let me go listen to some more stuff for you before I go into my deep dive on this, because I'm about to which is funny because Tom Bill, you watch this anime, and right now let's break about, before I go into further, break out the part right here. He talked about the manly man thing, the role models of current day time are not like how it used to be. That's somebody with the old mindset that, men back then are stronger, better than they are now. Well, one, you have so much today, so many different avenues, so many different things with social media, with streaming services, with TV, with internet, Twitter, Facebook, and you can find who you like to follow, whether that's The Rock, whether that's Jason Momoa, whether that's Chris Hemsworth, Chris Pratt, trying to think of other people, Denzel Washington, Will Smith, people you consider be manly men of today's era, Roman Reigns, WWE athletes, wrestlers, because there are people out there who are fit, who also play video games, who are also nerds. They're not having trouble with this. But you can say Arnold Schwarzenegger, but back then, everybody only had to focus on what you got on TV. Today, you had different avenues to see people in different lights, see people in different things that back then, you can say people with more, they can cover their image more. They can, if you're a wrestling fan, kayfabe their image a lot more and hide who they are. Versus today, when you can see, Juju Smith-Schuster, which is a football player, at an anime convention. Versus back then, he can go to an anime convention and also pretending, I don't go to anime, I don't watch that. But today, you can see him doing the shoot dance down an anime convention or an EDM concert, and you're like, wait a minute, Juju Smith-Schuster is in it. Jamal Williams, the Lions running back, now Saints running back, who's openly talks about anime, who talks about Pokemon and Pikachu and all this other stuff. The NFL, actually, if you follow the NFL on TikTok, they had a whole section where they talked to players who their favorite Pokemon were. It's more acceptable today that anime is a better product than today's modern, that's a whole other conversation, but I believe in today's modern cartoon American animation. He talks about Demon Slayer being scantily clad women in there. There's only two girls you can really look at Demon Slayer and be like, yeah, her outfit is definitely, I'll say, more revealing than another character's outfit. But then you look at American animation, Wonder Woman outfit, she's pretty much wearing a bikini. Power Girl has a boob window. Starfire wears a bikini. There's different characters you be like, yeah, no, they're very revealing outfits too. So let's not get on this high horse about, American animation is not as raunchy or more appealing to looking for young boys, when in reality, it's all the same. It's the story. Demon Slayer does better than American comics is because the story for Demon Slayer is concise, easy, 24 or how many mangas it is right there. The anime is only 12 episodes for season 1. You can watch it, easily digestible. Character's great, the animation's great. You don't have to watch years of stories to figure out where you got to be to pick up, a Wonder Woman comic book or a Superman comic book to figure out the depth of Superman comic. Wait, what timelines that happen in? Versus Demon Slayer, pick up manga 1, you're good to go. Reason why people don't get in One Piece as much because One Piece, they say, is super long. Yes, it's over 100 manga volumes, over 1,000 chapters. It's daunting, but at least One Piece you can pick up and start from the beginning and know where you're at. Superman, I can't go pick up Superman comic 1 and then try to read the comic today. Be like, wait a minute, this is 2 different versions of Superman. Supergirl, for example, this is Nerdy Dating, has died 14 different times. So that's why people are more invested in Demon Slayer. Not because, oh, there's blood and guts and gore. You can go read the Watchmen comic book and watch the Watchmen movie. You'll get the blood, gore, and sex that you want. Demon Slayer don't get you all that. Demon Slayer gets you some good action and good story. That's why it's more invested. And people who are growing up watching anime, grew up watching anime, grew up watching Dragon Ball Z, Yu Yu Hakusho, Hamtaro, Sailor Moon, are the ones who are investing more into it. We're now in the age in our 30s and 40s and 20s investing more into the anime world, and we're sharing it with our kids. That's why Demon Slayer is a bigger product than Superman and Batman in some cases. All right, let's keep going on this video. I might not get to the TikTok videos the way this video is going, so let's go ahead and pick up some more stuff in here. See what else they're talking about here.
Is for women to have partners that they are fundamentally attracted to. If you cannot find a partner that you genuinely are attracted to and that you genuinely want, that's not good for you either. If one sex loses, both sexes lose, right? That is really, really important. When it comes to the solutions, it's difficult, man. I'm writing a book on this at the moment, and it is not an easy.
What's the book about exactly?
The mating crisis. This imbalance between the sexes that we've got at the moment, the ground truth of hypergamy and how that is causing this ever-increasing group of women to chase after an ever-decreasing group of men. I'm sure that you've seen the statistics from Tinder. The bottom 80% of men compete for the bottom 20% of women, and the top 80% of women compete for the top 20% of men. Now, these men are commitment averse, so quite rightly, they have the pick of whoever it is that they want, but that means that they can run through this big cohort of women, which leaves them heartbroken. That doesn't seem...
So going back to your earlier point, because you said quite rightly, it's not good for the guys. So to continue to close some of these loops. So the reason that I've been married to the same woman for 20 years, and by the way, she got with me when I was broke. So
love how you throw that in there.
And she helped build all of this. I mean, literally side by side the whole way. But now I'm rich, man. Even if she took half my shit, I'd still be just ridiculously.
You hear that, Lisa?
And so I could, and I mean, back at Quest, it was ridiculous. All the like fitness girls, like, oh,
correct.
It's pretty funny. I don't. And the reason that not only do I not, I wouldn't if my wife were horribly burned. I've thought about this so much. So the experiment that I'm running, that I invite men and highly encourage them to run, is what does it look like when you share your life with somebody? Now, I think that there are ground truths. There's no doubt if you were to check my brain, the odds that I have unusually high receptors for like oxytocin and vasopressin is almost guaranteed, because I get so much out of bonding with my wife.
Men and women are supposed to complement each other. They're not supposed to be adversaries, right? So intrasexual competition within the sex, is significantly greater than intersexual competition, right? Competition across. It's the reason why, to use one example, it's why women slut shame more than men. You know, slut shaming is the sort of thing that if you listened to the news, it would be, or mainstream media, it would be the sort of thing that you hear men are slut shaming women out of their recently acquired sexual liberation. It's not. Slut shaming comes from women. Slut shaming is a price enforcement mechanism to ensure that no one woman drops the price of sex below a level at which almost all women would be acceptable. So let's say that me and you are women and we're going out on a date. I'm prepared to give blowjobs on the third date, but you're prepared to give them on the second date.
Oh, I'm the easy one here.
I'm afraid you are.
Okay, I was
you're very hungry this evening. And what that means is that I have to drop my price for sex down. So an easy way to ensure that no one woman does that is to do slut shaming. Now, it's a price enforcement mechanism from women onto other women. Now, I believe that the alternative on the other side of this is simp shaming for men. So if you imagine that what slut shaming does is it stops women from giving away sex without commitment. What simp shaming does for men is stops men from giving away commitment without sex.
No, that's not what simp shaming is.
So men have a particular sort of ick that they feel, some men do, about guys that subscribe to OnlyFans, guys that kind of buy girls stuff from Amazon gift lists, wish lists and stuff like that. And I think that the reason for that is they know that that man is offering up part of what a relationship should be whilst not asking for anything in return. In exactly the same way that some women have a problem with girls that give sex away too easily because they know that that is supposed to be something which is supposed to be also part of a relationship, and that is being given away without asking for the commitment in return. So when you're talking about your relationship with your wife and the fact that you guys complement each other, that's exactly how it should be. And here's another element of solutions to the mating crisis, right? Stopping the adversarial conversations between men and women.
Yes.
Turning down the volume of the conversation around this. Like, you want to have men and women seeing each other as compatriots, not competitors. They want to be collaborators, right? They're supposed to work together. And for women to say, you know, you could imagine that you're on some awful daytime TV show and to say like, women are out earning men and they're out educating men as well. And some sassy person to then go like hoop and holler and like, this is, you're just scared that we're taking your money away from you. And you go, do you not want to have a partner that's competent? Like, this hurts you as well. This imbalance in the dating market is not fantastic for the women who wants to have a partner. And this is shown up in the fact that they're having higher rates of sexlessness than ever. 50.1% of women are childless at 30 for the first time in history. More women without children at 30 than with women for the first time ever. 51% of women from the ONS data that came out of the UK in 2020 gave birth to children outside of civil unions or marriage, which means that they were either single or just in a relationship. Like, that is not necessarily the most secure foundation within which women can start to build a family. Like, do you not want commitment from your partner? Oh, marriage is an archaic institution and blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's pretty good at creating a foundation for building a family on top of.
Let's talk about that real quick. So, they talk about the mating crisis and people not mating crisis, what he's working a book on, and then hypergamy, and then he also talked about slut shaming and simp shaming. I did a whole episode about simping, which just means sucker, admiring, mediocre. P, put in your fill in blank. It could be guy or girl. And I said, if somebody does not value you as a person, you're putting all this effort in and you're hoping they'll value you back, when in reality they're not, they just want to use you, you shouldn't do that. That's not healthy. Slut shaming. Don't shame somebody for wanting to have sex. Don't do that. Like, mind your own business, stay in your own lane. Do not bring down somebody else because they okay with their body and they're okay with doing things that, one, it's their body. Let them live their life how they want to live it. Don't here call somebody a slut because they had sex with 5 people within the last 2 years. Like, get over yourself. What is your deal about that? So I do agree with the fact with like slut shaming and there's no need to do that. It's actually harming everybody in the situation. And simp shaming, which is weird to call that simp shaming. If somebody's getting used and if they like being used that way, go for it. But somebody's getting used and they're putting like, well, hopefully one day she'll pay attention to me, so I'm gonna pay for this, do that for her, I'm gonna do this for her. She gives me no return, no acknowledgement, no any kind of, what's the word I'm looking for, appreciation, but I'm gonna keep doing this. Get out of that situation. That's a very unhealthy situation. It's not good for you. So, and then he's like, OnlyFans. OnlyFans is transactional. It's like paying for it. You're paying for it. It's transactional. So, at the end of the day, the person who has an OnlyFans knows what they're doing, and they're not in it for you. They're gonna make you feel good, but they're not in it for you. They're in it for the money. So, and then he talks about like singleness and having kids with not having a fully committed relationship or in a marriage. You don't know what that person been through. You don't know what kind of lifestyle that person had, that the maybe boyfriend walked out on it, or maybe she didn't want to have a relationship with that person. Whatever the case may be, that's not something that's been going on like, oh, it's a rise. No. And also another reason why people are not having kids at a young age, because maybe it's not financially stability to have kids at a certain time. Pandemic, after pandemic, inflation, the cost of things. it's maybe not a smart idea to have kids. Not just yet. You don't want to bring a kid in a situation where they don't have stability. So why you want to have a kid early on just because you want to have, oh, we got to fix the mating crisis? It's not a smart idea to do that. Not at all. If you're not financially stable, why bring a kid into the world to put them in that same situation? That's why probably people are waiting to have kids, or waiting to be in a committed relationship, because also you have to think about this. There are more options with the dating apps and everything. And why force yourself to be in a situation that you're not happy in just for the fact you're going to have a kid? That's not healthy at all. The person you're dating is not treating you right. The person you're being with in a relationship is not treating you right, not treating you how you should be treated, like a good person, and you're going to go ahead and have a kid with them just because you think they're going to save the relationship, when it never does. Two, you have a kid in a bad relationship, the kid going to watch you get divorced eventually or break up, so the kid has to go through that trauma. Don't do that to a kid. That's why people are waiting. That's one of the reasons why people are waiting. Now, the statistics behind it, you can just look around and talk to people without having to look at the statistics. I'm pretty sure you can go find those statistics there too. They're there. But he's acting like, well, these people are just having sex to have a kid and they're not having a stability. That's not what it is. We're going to keep moving forward here.
I'm terrified of going up to girls. I'm absolutely terrified of going up and approaching a woman because I'm scared that she's going to think that I'm some sort of creep. And that doesn't create a very conducive environment for men and women to actually, and again, like, there are extreme situations that are significantly more common than they should be.
I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. You're going to regret not having children. I will regret not having children.
My point is that we have this ever more singleton society, right? Using sex in a transactional manner. I was on 2 dating shows. I did Love Island the first season in the UK. I did Take Me Out, which is another primetime TV dating show as well. I stood on the front door of 1,000 nightclubs and met 1 million people between the ages of 18 and 25 for 15 years. I have seen the transactional nature. I've worked in the trenches, right? I've been there. I've been to the summit of this particular mountain. And I'm not saying that I want to roll back people being able to do what they want with casual relationships. What I want to remind people of is that there is a lot more to life than simply being able to buy shoes you don't need to impress people you don't like at a job that you hate for a very, very long time. And for most people, even with the best purpose in the world and listening to all of the impact theories and the modern wisdoms and the Goggins and everything else, they are going to need more than just their job. They're not going to be able to supplant their desire for family, community, and connection with a room filled with people that they can mentor and do stuff, because this is a very non-typical job for most people to have. We have all of these different dynamics. Everything is changing, up in the air in terms of mating dynamics, in terms of the sexual revolution, in terms of the roles that men and women have culturally, the position that men and women hold educationally, and in terms of employment. This is a messy, messy, messy situation. And I think that turning down the volume on the conversation in terms of how competitive men and women see each other, pedestalizing motherhood so that if women do want to have kids, that they are not shamed out of having it because it makes them feel like they're a second-class citizen, that would also be absolutely fantastic. Like, those starting points at the very, very least, to be able to go, how about we try and work together to make men worthy of women and to make women accepting of those men, to not... I saw this video that went super, super viral. You might have seen it on Twitter, of a girl in the gym, and a guy was sort of looking past her at some point, and then he sort of looks over. I think she's filming herself doing hip thrusts or something like that. And a lot of people in the comments were saying, as men, saying, this is why I'm terrified of going up to girls. I'm absolutely terrified of going up and approaching a woman because I'm scared that she's going to think that I'm some sort of creep. And that doesn't create a very conducive environment.
So he's talking about making men worthy,
again, like,
in the eyes of women to date, or making women see men as worthy to date, and women more accepting of men being worthy enough to date. Question is, guy, who are you chasing after? What are you looking for? What are you into? As a question for a man, that's what you should think for first before you try to go on a date with a woman. If you're trying to look for an actual committed partner, what are your interests? What are you into? What are the things that you like? and see what kind of person you're looking for. You're looking for a person who's nice, a person who's good with people, good with handling other situations, talking to other people, just a very cheery person, outgoing, kind-hearted, intelligent, smart. Maybe depending on what you're into, maybe into fitness and into a healthy lifestyle. What are you looking for when it comes to a partner? Family oriented, adventurous. Those terms people like to use. Adventurous, which adventurous means they're up for to me, adventurous means up for anything. Like, you might not have 6 months, or I guess 4 months out of 4 weeks out of the month, 4 weeks out of the month, 4 weeks out of, every 4 weeks you're not doing the same exact thing. That's what I want to get to. That's what I'm saying is every 4 weeks you're not doing the same exact thing. You're not coming in by being, okay, we're just going back to our routine. Maybe your significant other's like, hey, let's go to this spot down here. Let's go over here this weekend. Or you're like, hey, let's go travel to another state. You want to go camping with me, or you want to go hiking, or you want to go to the beach. And your partner's down for that kind of stuff. A little spontaneity, little adventures, little down for anything. That kind of stuff. Like, what are you looking for in a partner? If you're looking to meet somebody. Also, what are you doing for yourself? Are you sitting at home? Are you on your couch and you're not doing anything? One, get your stuff together first. They brought up Andrew Tate earlier, and Andrew Tate is God, not a good dude. But some of the stuff he talks about, how a guy should focus on themselves, that's not wrong. He is speaking some truth, and you give credit where credit's due. He is speaking some truth when he says you should focus on yourself first before you try to go find somebody else. You just can't be like, well, somebody's going to fix me. No, fuck. Sorry. Forget that. Bump that. Fix yourself first. Work on yourself first. Don't say you should wait till you date somebody because you got to wait till I get to the right time. I'm feeling good myself. No. Get your confidence up. Work on yourself. Get yourself on your feet. Get yourself a solid job that you enjoy. One that you enjoy and also help stabilize your life, because you can get a job you enjoy, you're not paying the bills, you're going to be in a crappy situation. So get a job you enjoy, that, or a job that helps funds you, but you also do so that it brings value to your life. So that way, maybe your job is not bringing value to your life, maybe your job is funding the thing that does bring you value to your life. And maybe you find a way to flip that thing that you love doing and make money off of it. Anyway, back to that. So those things you need to do as a guy in order to find that partner you're looking for. Find somebody you want to meet with and get into a serious relationship with. So look at what you're looking for. Don't wait for women to accept you. Skip that. Though, like, nobody needs to accept you. Be who you are. You'll find that girl who will find you entertaining, who will find you a kind, caring person who wants to be invested, who wants to invest with you, who wants to spend their time with you. You will find that person if you just do you and be yourself and be the good person that you are, or be the person you want to be. Like, do not be a jerk. You'll find a jerk too, and you guys won't be. Yeah, don't do that. Like, invest in yourself, and your person will come along. That way, because as a man, don't forget, society hasn't changed the thought process that men are considered a provider. And now your partner can be a provider as well. Not saying there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying, think about the main mindset of men in society. So don't forget that. And also another thing, and this is still since this day, women do not have sex down. If they have sex with somebody in their own place, they want to have sex with somebody then that person might be having their own place. They're never going to go back to mom and dad's house to have sex with you at your mom and dad's house. So, like, think about that. When you're looking to get a relationship, do you have your own place? Do you have a stable job? Do you have a car? Think about those things, the necessities that, where she feels like she doesn't have to see mom and dad when she wants to come hang out with you. And that's another thing. People under 30s, they probably don't have their own place yet. They probably don't have their like, I can tell you right now, between 19 and 21 and 24, I didn't have my own place. I didn't have my own place yet. I was in college. Well, I guess I had roommates in college, but I only had a car really, and that was it. So it didn't really happen until I got tired. When I moved back into my family's place after college, I was like, give me the crappiest room in the house. Because I don't want to be comfortable. Because when you're comfortable, you're not going to make a change. When you're uncomfortable, you're going to make a change. So that was something that I did to myself personally, so I could get my own place. But this whole making women accept men, nah, that's not it. That's not it, Chief. Like women need to accept. Like no, men, step your game up. Step your game up. Don't let somebody settle to be with you. Step your game up and you find the person that you want to be with. Also, on that note, women, keep doing you. Keep getting better. Keep getting those better jobs. Keep getting, moving up in the world. Keep getting smarter. Keep getting those degrees. Keep just advancing. Keep doing you. 'Cause that stuff is hot as hell. Hot as hell. I want to say it's hot. When you see a girl like up here doing better for herself, you're like, hell yeah. Like you get that bread. Cause hey, I'm gonna get my bread too. So let's go. So hey, what these dudes talking about women are doing too much or too advancing, this old school mindset of thinking, which is crazy because Chris Williamson is a dating coach. So the fact he's giving this kind of advice on this episode is not healthy at all, but it is what it is. All right, let's keep it rolling and see what else we can dive into on this episode.
Extreme situations that are significantly more common than they should be, where women really do have bad encounters with guys. Do you want to nerf every...
Oh, and that too, because they talk about this. I talked to the other stuff first, but this part right here as well about men not wanting to approach women. Look, guys, if you're not a creep and you come up with good intentions, approach her. If she's like, hey, I thought you was attractive, want to get to know you, like want to see I can get your number. Especially if you're in a gym. One, do not approach somebody in the middle of their workout. They're not thinking about that at all. If you want to approach a girl, one, catch her as you guys are leaving the gym. If she's leaving the same time you are, or you saw her come in at the same time you are, or matter of fact, if you're working out at the same time, you realize you have the same schedule, and you get to know her that way. Like you just say, hey, I want, thought you attractive. Is okay, take you out. Are you free sometime? Actually go up and talk to her. Why won't be considered a creep? If she's gonna post you on Instagram, TikTok as a creep, then she's not the right girl for you. That's not the girl you want to speak to. If you happen to be on the working out in the gym and you look over and see a girl throwing some weight, I tell you this. I see a girl about to squat 300 plus pounds. I'm like, hell yeah, you get that. You go, Grilling Coco. You get that. Or a girl about to do bench press or whatever, throwing deadlifts 400 pounds. I see a girl legit about to, or you see somebody hit their PR, they're like, okay, I'm about to hit this. Let's get it. Like, yeah, man, I'll be over there or look over your head nod, get it, good work, and then get back into it. Heck, if I'm in the same area, I might go and get a fist bump. I don't care because I'm like, you did that. You did that. Now, I was a personal trainer at one point, so the athlete in me still like, I see you. Let's go. The cheerleader kind of person in me when see somebody do something like, I see you over there. I see you. But as a guy, you see a girl and you lay in the gym, you look over and you see her hitting weight, and you're like, you probably won't get recorded. You going, but heck, that's the day we had in right now. Everybody throwing their workout videos, everything else like that on Instagram, Facebook. So you will want to be caught in somebody's background, but it is what it is. Don't be afraid. But you want to go approach a girl, go approach her. If you're coming with positive intentions, and it's actually one of my friends told me this, when she's like, if you come with positive intentions, why are you caring about getting called a creep? And that girl gonna call you a creep, why do you want to be about her? Like, you don't. And you're not a creep, don't. Social media doesn't care. It's next week is gonna be somebody else. Next week gonna be some new thing. Tomorrow with the next 24 hours. So don't worry about it. Go, if you're really attracted to somebody and want to speak to them, go speak to them. If you haven't been in somebody's video and you see somebody hitting weight and you're like, that's impressive, give that person props. Walk over to her and say, hey, I see you, good work, fist bump, high five, whatever the case would be. Maybe you're not the kind of person to go acknowledge somebody. Maybe just a point and thumbs up. That's all you have to do. And you can walk back to your workout. I've done it before. Call somebody, I was about to do a workout and seen somebody do something. I'm like, word, I see you. I think that one of the coolest things when you do in the gym is walk over to somebody, walk by somebody, you make eye contact, you just get that head nod that right there, that stamp of approval, I did that. People love that kind of stuff. People love to be cheered. People love to be cheered. Even they say they don't, please don't point me out. If you just head nod and acknowledge that right there, Sometimes it's good enough. All right, back to it.
Every single man on the planet so that they never go up and approach a woman because of that? I don't know.
I have a life theory that I am very eager for people to understand. There's pathology on both sides. Communism is evil. Fascism is evil. They are as far apart at their beginning motivations as you can be. You have to find something in the middle. And so guys being predatory is evil. Guys being weak is evil. And you have to find that thing in the middle.
Do you know how Bill and Melinda Gates met?
Oh, she worked for him.
Correct. So she works for him as a receptionist or an assistant type role. And Bill is founder, CEO, managing director, whatever, of Microsoft in the 80s, I think. And he's noticed Melinda around the office. And she's pretty tidy, so he's going to maybe ask... Pretty tidy, so she's going to ask her out. And so he rings her on the internal work phone and says, "It's Bill, I feel like it'd be good, we should go out sometime." She says, "When do you fancy going out?" He says, "How's 3 weeks tomorrow?" She says, "Bill, I don't think that you're sufficiently spontaneous for me. This isn't going to work." Then finish the phone call. He rings back 30 minutes later and he says, "You've got the rest of the afternoon off work. How's this for spontaneous?" Could you imagine if CEO, founder of big tech company rings receptionist asking her out, and then after she says no, rings her back again?
Nope.
Game over. Again, like, are we saying that we need to go back to some Harvey Weinstein era where everything's free game? Absolutely not. But it's more than 50% of people are starting their relationships online at the moment, and they don't stick about as long. Relationships that start online are not as, they don't have the longevity, they don't have the staying power.
Why?
The correlation is there, the causation, I'm not too sure why.
Take a stab.
The environment in which you meet your partner buckets them into a particular type of person. There is a smaller cohort number of people that you work with than you see online, which means that there are more replacement options available for somebody that you meet online. I think also you are pre-selecting for similar interests, similar location, a lot of other things. You have the support structure of the people around you if you're talking about dating within work or within church or within the gym that you go to or whatever it might be. All of these things provide support. They allow you to ask somebody else that's been at the company longer than you about whether that guy is actually nice or not. So you pre-select for all of the things that you wanted, whereas on the internet it's a cold approach, right? It's a cold call email, that's the equivalent, and also it is significantly more replaceable. I mean, we haven't even really touched on it, but the globalization of the sexual marketplace has meant that everybody is competing with everybody else. Every woman now in Utah has to compete with every woman who lives in New York for the...
Let's talk about this real quick. So he talked about like why people are not doing it and how dating market online dating 50% of dates don't last, or 50% of couples don't last. One, because the fact that there's always the next person online. There's always the next person. If something you're talking to and doesn't work out and you're like, I just don't match, I feel like I'm not really invested, I'm going to move on. Let this person know, hey, I'm not interested. The good person let somebody know they're not interested and say, I'm moving on. That's why online datings don't last. There's always another person to swipe on or another person to match with. In real life, IRL, you have work, family, friends, and gym or church, like you said, your community that you're meeting people in. Now, within this community, it's a lot harder if something goes, you're like, my friend said this would be a good person for me to meet, therefore my friends also invested to this person. It's not just, I met this person online and we had no connection at all. My friends connected to this person, so my friend hooked me up with this person, and I didn't like them. I also told my friend, hey, this didn't work out. You gotta talk to him about that. At work, if it doesn't work out at work, it's gonna be awkward. You to be able to work with each other and make it through without, and be okay with working with each other. That like, hey, we had a thing, it didn't work out. Our emotions, we can put them aside, and at work only be a certain way. Or when you meet somebody at the gym, like, hey, I'm working at a gym, work at this gym, This is my community, this is my structure. I'm dating within my community at the gym. We didn't work out. There's a lot more risk involved when you're dating somebody like at work or at the gym or from family, friends, relations, something like that, where you're kind of like, if this doesn't work out, it's not gonna just be me who's gonna be a part of this. It's also gonna be my friends or people at the gym that we see. Like people have moved gyms because they dated somebody at the gym and it just didn't work out. They went to another gym versus staying at that same gym to avoid seeing that person. Like that kind of stuff is higher risk versus when you meet somebody online and it doesn't work out, you would have to see that person again. You might bump into out and about in town. I think I bumped into somebody I met on a dating app out and about in town maybe one time. One person I can think of. I want to say twice, but I didn't know it was them. And I was like, I felt like I recognized this person, but I didn't know it was them. I met them at a bar. The other person I actually met at, was it Samia Cookies or somewhere else? I was like, oh, hey, how you been? But the likelihood you meet a person, bump into the person that you met on a dating app after, especially in a bigger city, is very unlikely. Like, it's very unlikely if you're crossing paths with them. Versus if you meet somebody you work with and you try something out and didn't work out, then like, hey, we didn't work out. Are we able to work together? Are we able to keep our job and be stable? Because we was cool before we started working together. Now we're a mess and emotionally. So there's so much more risk involved, and that's why people are not. People, when they date within the work, or dating within the gym, they're try to be more likely to make it work or make it happen versus, all right, it's not gonna work out, I'm out. I can meet the next person and try to match it versus like, we gotta make this happen here. We're gonna do this thing. If not, it's not gonna happen, hey, we try. You know, it'll be more effort to make the thing try when you date within your community versus not dating within your community. So that's why. Not because, we don't know. No, that is why. All right, back to it.
The attention of some high value guy. And if there is some dude that used to be 990 out of 1,000 in the particular small town that he lives in, you are way, way, way down the pecking order when it comes to, I think the equivalent is if you were 700 out of 1,000 in a normal small sized town, there are 15 million men ahead of you on Instagram in terms of your mate value. Ooh. Like that 7 out of 10 thing, right? It's not good. It's not good. And it means that it is very, very difficult for you to, why should you stick with a partner? Why should you go through hard times? There's somebody else. I can just get back on Tinder straight away. I can just continue to swipe until I find somebody else that replaces this suboptimal relationship because something bad has happened. And then in this same situation, all of the stuff that we've been talking about, you know, the subtleties and the nuances of this, I'm not saying that someone should put up with a relationship that they don't want to be in. But it's important to have a conversation where you go, how much baby and bathwater has been thrown out here when we've gotten rid of traditional dating techniques, traditional ways that men and women would meet and deal with problems together. Like, how flippant should you be? How easy and quick should you dispense with this person that you've been with because there is something new and shinier out there?
Frame of reference, man, is everything.
To answer that question, depends on how long you guys been dating, how long you guys been investing in each other. 6 months, then that person definitely owes the reason why you want to break up. If it's a date that you feel like just didn't work out, then it just didn't work out. Like, this whole thing, and I guess it also comes down to what are you looking for? That's the thing. People in today's era, when it comes to modern dating, modern dating is still traditional dating. It's still a guy approaching the girl. It's still a guy swiping in. He got to do the opener. Bumble tried to change it, but really the guy's doing the opener. Guys got to make the first move. Guy got to take her on a date. The guy got to pay for the first date. Like, it's still the same things. It's just that instead of meeting somebody through a friend of a family, your circle, you're meeting people outside the circle. Also, don't compare yourself to people on Instagram. Be your best person. Be your best person when you're doing dating apps. I'm like getting out of hand here. When you're doing dating apps and doing stuff like that, and you will find that person. Like, it's not a, oh, I'm out because, you know, 4 months you gotta talk to you, y'all realize you're not working there, you're not clicking. Then it's okay. But to stay in something because you don't feel like, well, I gotta force because my friend, family. That's once again, you don't do that. But it just, when you put some like work involved, it makes it harder to say like this is not a good match because we're staying together because of work, not we're staying together because we want each other. That's a different thing. So he's talking about like, well, they've been flipping whatever. Like, yeah, when you're online dating, the risk of like, okay, I gotta keep talking to this person because I work with them. I gotta keep talking to this person because I go to the gym with them. That's not there. The harm is not there. So therefore, you can't say, hey, this is not a good match for me. I'm sorry. I am gonna move on. It's not me. It's not you. It's me, kind of thing. All right, let's pick it back up here.
So, if I were going to write a book, which I'm not currently, but if I were, it would be about frame of reference. Getting people to understand you have a bunch of beliefs, values, and a bunch of other things, but let's take beliefs and values for a second. People mistake them for objective truth. And they think, oh, I am just recognizing the world the way that it actually is. And the way that the world actually is being with this person. She's not perfect, and I'm better off going and getting another person. That's a belief. Now I have a different base, what I call base assumption. So my base assumption is if your solution to every problem is just to replace the person, that you'll never develop the depth because you can never make them feel secure. And one thing I wanted Lisa to know, it was really difficult for me to decide to propose, but once I decided to propose, I literally scarred myself to make sure I would remember I'm a different person. There is no going back. And once you have that belief, that rule, that value system, now all of a sudden you're operating very differently. So when I think about, because you had said to solve a lot of these problems, you're gonna have to use cultural technology.
Yes.
And while I don't entirely know what you mean by cultural technology, I certainly get the gist.
So yeah, it's like repurposing what it means to pedestalize motherhood would be a cultural technology.
Perfect. So I agree wholeheartedly. I use different words, and I would say it's going to be beliefs and value systems. I want to do something that almost certainly we will look back on in 20 years and both be embarrassed, but let's make a prediction, because I have a prediction, not what I want to happen, what I'm worried will happen. Mm-hmm. Because and let's define the problem. So I'm gonna step into your world and say, okay, there's a mating crisis. That's the problem. To further define it from my side, I will say mating crisis, I'm just bucketing these in really clumsy big buckets for simplicity's sake. But that this is basically boils down to a problem of we have not yet found in a modern era the definition of what it means to be a real man and a real woman where they can work together well over a long period of time. So we haven't even run the experiment yet. So we're in this sort of modern thing that's maybe been going on for 15-ish years. And now we're gonna get to watch how it plays out. What I think, I don't think we will ever be able to pull people back. And so when I started Impact Theory, it was legitimately aimed at all ages. I actually thought I would primarily focus on adults. After reading A Billion Wicked Thoughts and working at Quest for as long as I did and actually trying this on adults, I realized, nope, only about 2% of people will encounter a new idea and change their life at a foundational level. And so I was like, I'm giving up on adults. So then it becomes only about kids. And for me, the sweet spot is 11 to 15.
In any case, the Earth is overpopulated. You are unreachable and wrong. The Earth has way more carrying capacity than it does at the moment. We're not going to break 10 billion people, and we are going to fall very, very quickly. By 2050, China is going to have 650 million people.
Oh my God.
There's 1.2 billion in it now. China and Japan and South Korea have the worst imbalances with regards to this, the worst birth rates. Japan's 125 million people at the moment. It's going to be 60, 65 billion people by 2050.
100%. But to go so far as to see nature as like the kind and gentle thing.
Just allow the world to continue to kick you in the teeth. The pessimist is always going to be able to prove himself right. So I would try to show the tons and tons and tons of examples of young guys who have struggled in finding a purpose, in finding a community, in finding friends and girls and all of the things that young guys want to do. You have impact on that. You have agency and you have sovereignty over the direction that your life is going to go in. And I can speak to that from a first-hand example. that I've gone from being literally like the worst, most unpopular, uncool person, chronically bullied throughout all of school, to now having a bunch of friends that I respect and respect me, to having a career that I really care about.
Okay, stop by yourself. So I'm gonna stop it. All right. So they haven't really fixed anything. They more can't talk about themselves and what their beliefs are, stuff like that. One thing about they talk about Harvey Weinstein, Bill Gates situation. I do want to go back to that because Bill Gates is CEO and he told his secretary, hey, you have the rest of the day off and I'm taking you on a date. Now he did ask her, can you take her on a date? She said, no, you're not spontaneous enough for me. I can't wait 3 weeks. So he called her off her day and said, you're coming with me. Now, I don't know how much they knew each other before he decided to make this move, but if she was also afraid of her job, she probably like, okay, I'm going on a date with my boss because he pays the bills. But also at the same time, I don't know like how good a person Bill Gates is. I haven't heard anything bad about Bill Gates. So hopefully they knew each other and she was perfectly fine going on a date with him. And I don't know his backstory. I didn't look the relationship, so I had no idea how it worked out at the end. But for the most part, I haven't heard anything bad about Bill Gates. So I'm hoping they're still together and it worked out fine. But yes, not everybody. Bill Gates has status also. Think about it. He had status and he was her boss. So for her to turn him down, it'd be more of a risky thing for her to do that, to say like, oh, well, I'm going to say no to my boss, versus saying like, you know what, I'm going to go on a date and see what happens. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Versus like a regular person goes and talk to her in the office who on the same level, if not below her, did that. She probably less apt to go on that date with him. Now she did say no at first because she's like, you're not spontaneous enough. I can't do 3 weeks. So there's that. But the Bill Gates flexing his power like that was a flex on his abilities. But it worked out. Not every guy has that. So he brought up Bill Gates doing that to he's a malicious thing. I would say that probably still happens today. Probably a boss will hit on his secretary. They know each other long enough and she's okay with it and it's all consensual. She will go on that date with her boss. If he did that today, and then vice versa, she did that to her secretary her attendant or secretary who's a guy, and he said no at first because she wanted to do it 3 weeks, but he actually wants to go on a date. Yeah, matter of fact, Triple H and Stephanie McMahon, when put in WWE terms, she was the boss's daughter. Triple H is a wrestler. They said they can't mingle with each other, but it happened and it worked out. So that right there is one thing I want to talk about regarding that, because I feel like he put it out like, oh, men are too scared to make the moves like that. But once again, you can definitely do that. Don't be scared about doing that. You can definitely make that move. Just be cognizant of the environment you're in. And understand if somebody says no, move forward. So, yeah. But these two guys in the situation, as far as the men being single in the age of like 30 and younger being single, getting about pandemic, people didn't want to approach each other after the pandemic because of, don't want to get somebody else sick. Then think about the whole women are considered creeps. Courtney Ryan, one of the channels I follow, and she's been on this channel before as well. She posted a post about like why men don't approach women, or how many men are comfortable approaching women. About 60% of men said they wasn't comfortable with approaching women. There's another reason why they approach. About 60% said that it wasn't comfortable, or they didn't want to be considered a creep when it comes to approaching women. 60% of men, in this post she made last year, were afraid, on her channel, was afraid to approach women because they didn't know how to, or they wouldn't want to be considered creepy. Once again, let's run that back. And I'm not sure what the age range of those guys were. But that entangled with guys, one, are not a committed relationship. So that's why they're not in relationships right now, because they want to have a committed relationship. And that article I did find talked about how women under the age of 30 don't have that same issue. Now, women date up, and when it comes to age ranges, guys usually date down. So you're looking at somebody who is 25 dating down, they're looking at 21 to 25, and they're like, okay, well, They might not be the same lifestyle as I am. Also, guys in the 30s might not be more committed to, might be more apt to be in a serious relationship. They might want to be like, figure out who they want to get to date, move on kind of thing before they jump into that. And then the women who are around that same age, they're looking to date up. So they're probably going to date somebody in their 27 and up, 30 and up, depending. Like, let's say it's 25. Probably date somebody 27, 28, 29, 30. Around that range, date on up. So therefore, a guy in their 30s and higher might or will be more likely to do a committed relationship, because a girl in her 25, 20s are more likely to be in a committed relationship. And if you're in a relationship, most likely you have sex, especially in a brand new relationship. But these guys younger than 30 and younger who are considered sexless, it's probably more due to something on the fact that, like, they're just not looking to have sex. They're not looking to rush into have sex. They're not looking to, and they also said date or looking for dates. Dates and sex are two different things. 50% of men are sexless, and then 50% of men looking for dates are two different things. You can find a date, get on Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, dating apps, ask a girl out. You'll get that girl, and you'll go swipe until you find somebody who will set that date. You will get that date. You're looking for dates. That's the thing. Now you go on a dating app and say, "Hey, I just want to look to hook up." Not every girl on the dating app is looking to hook up. Not every girl is on there looking to have sex right off the bat. So yes, you might find a girl who says, "No, I don't want to look to hook up." Then you're gonna move on. But then you keep swiping. Numbers game, because sex is looking for just a hookup. It's a numbers game. You will find that girl be like, "Yeah, I'm down to hook up." Cool, there you go. But putting your dating profile that I'm here to have sex is not appealing as a dating profile for guys say I'm looking to have a good time. And then whatever that means, you can figure that out. But they make it sound like this is this big ordeal that guys are sexless under the age of 50 and under the age of 30. In reality, it's not a big ordeal. One of the things that guys are just not looking for actual relationships under the age of 30. They're still trying to figure themselves out, still trying to figure out what's going on, what they're trying to do. So it makes complete sense why guys under the age of 30 are not having as much sex, because they're not 100% looking for it. Then he also brought up Tinder about how, like, the top 20% of men are getting all the women. And people can say that, but I don't know what the top 20% of men is. But if you apply yourself, you're not, like, it's not hard finding a date. Find the right person is different. And it should be difficult to find the right person, because you're looking for the person to match you, the best person to work with you, and you're not settling. So it would be difficult to find the right person that matches you. But to find sex, that's not that hard. And we need to stop acting like it is. It's not. Yeah, I'm not gonna react to any more TikToks on this episode. I think this video was enough to dive into and break it down and hear these guys' thoughts. What do you guys' thoughts? Think what their thoughts were. What do you think? Please put in the comment section below. Also, there's a question you want me to answer on Nerdy Dating. Send it to alizakkanerdydating@gmail.com. That's alizakkanerdydating@gmail.com. Or you can put in the comment section below and I get to it as best I can. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Nerdy Dating, and keep being awesome. Thank you for watching this episode of Nerdy Dating. I really appreciate it. If there's another episode you want to watch, you can look at it right there. If you want to subscribe to the page and watch more content, it's down here. Also, you have a question about dating, you want to put it in the comment section, go ahead and do it. Or you can send me your dating question to my email of alizakkanerdydating@gmail.com. That's alizakkanerdydating@gmail.com. And I will answer your question on the next episode of Nerdy Dating. Thank you so much for watching this show. I appreciate you, and keep being awesome.